Mr. Kaiser had to do something with my computer. It is really cool. They started doing this on
Definitely redwoods.
August 4th. They started putting the poppies in. Why August 4th?
I have to bring it back once a month.
Does anyone know why they started doing this on August 4th? That's when the war began. August 4th, 1914. We're in the 100th anniversary of World War I. It's pretty remarkable. 100 years. And I would argue many of the good things, but World War I, God.
I was just looking at that. You made reality.
And so, those are the poppies, and they're ceramic. That's what they look like. They sold them as kind of a fundraiser remembrance. And I was talking to Mr. Sims, who used to teach here, and he's subbing today. And he's like, I want to buy one. But they were literally sold out in seconds. I think that's one of the Beefeaters, the guards there. And if you ever go to the Tower of London, get a guided tour of them. They're awesome. They're all sergeants in the British Army, and they're still in the British Army, but they guard the Tower of London. They're planting them. There's the Queen. I like that picture. That is really cool. We should go to the Tower of London.
Yes.
Who's with me? Tower of London is so cool.
How do you buy one of the poppies?
Hmm?
How do you buy them?
They did an online sale,
That's cool.
and they were gone. I mean, just boom.
Wait, so is it like you buy one and it's planted for you? Is that the idea? Or
Both. It's planted. It's planted to remember, and then you actually get it when it's older to take them out.
oh,
Some people said they leave them in there, but I think they correctly decided no, that doesn't make sense.
they plant it for you and then they mail it to you or something. Yeah, when it's over the size.
I'm glad they're not going to leave them up there permanently because it really should, it kind of diminishes the impact of it. What a great idea for the 100th anniversary. My guess is they'll do it again. They're talking 1918. Makes sense for the 100th anniversary of the end of the war. Yeah, remember it's maybe 20 years. What did I say? I'm going back in time, people. Woo!
Society still has to come up with all these things.
And by the way, I said World War I cost so much. Let me just give you one little example. You want to hear one little example from World War I? A country called Iraq. It was created by the British for oil.
So it's the British.
Yeah, everything bad, blame the British. It's so much easier. They don't have to think.
We got to invade Britain now, guys.
Yeah.
Again, when we invaded Britain. All right, so we're at the election of 1840. Let's go and finish this. I think I'm filming. Yes, it's filming.
The Nazis are watching. Hey.
The Nazis?
Do you not remember that? That was so funny.
No, you're not calling the supervisors in the school Nazis. They're coming for you.
Oh, yeah.
It also wasn't the
Okay, now we
supervisors.
got
We
it.
actually called the
All right, so the election of 1840, we talked about this. William Henry Harrison. Harrison supported the clay system. The Whigs ran Harrison because they were trying to say that Harrison was like what Mercer?
Jackson.
Yeah, he's another Jackson. Old Tip. Old Tip. We have Old Tip and Old Hickory. There's going to be a lot of olds coming up here pretty soon. Can't say old, it hurts. And who's his vice president?
John
Tippy Canoe and Tyler too. Tyler was from Virginia. They disagreed on almost everything except for their hatred of democracy. But vice presidents never become president, right? So it's not a big deal. The Democrats are stuck is not the right word, but a lot of them want to get rid of Van Buren, but they supported Van Buren again. Van Buren is the incumbent. He is an effective politician. But Van Buren has two big issues. Van Buren has two big issues in this election of 1840. He's being blamed for the panic, and that's what this cartoon shows, this painting. It's supposed to show the effects of the panic. People waiting in a food line, here are drunks. This is a run on the bank. People are running on a bank. What happened and would be the norm until 1930, well, 33, 34 when it would take effect? When people put their money in a bank for a savings account, actually what happens is the bank is borrowing money from you. Then you will get it back, plus what? A little tiny bit of interest. Now there's virtually no interest because interest rates are so low. But what do banks do with that money they get? People put their money in, and what do they do with it? Yeah, they loan it out. There were no rules back then, and all those wildcat banks were loaning every penny out. But every bank loans money out. They loan almost every penny, with the expectation is their depositors won't all come at once for their money. But in a panic, everybody comes at once. And what happens? The bank can't pay them back, and what happens to the bank? And what happens to everybody's savings? Poof, like they never existed. It would not be until 1933 that they set up deposit insurance. Have you heard of FDIC? Yeah. And that happened during the Great Depression. That arguably saved the world in 2008, FDIC. If that would not have been there, I can't even begin to tell you how bad the bank panic would have been. So every night before you go to bed, you must thank Franklin Roosevelt for still having a country. If you don't, then we will come after you. Me and the ghost of Franklin Roosevelt. Which Franklin Roosevelt?
Never mind. Never mind. It's not my day.
Tell you this. What if the banks just delay giving it back so we don't have it right?
If everyone comes at once,
I know, but why can't they just say we're gonna get it back?
would you believe them?
But then why?
Would you believe them?
Okay, let's say no. Just for sake of argument, why would they just close their doors when people are not going to pay back? I mean,
If no one knows. People demand it. They have no choice. They take the road. Yeah.
so then what happens to people who borrow money? They just get $1,000 or something free?
It's not quite, but yeah, they can't collect it. Yeah, what that means is the financial system is employed. That's what you're describing. Yeah.
Not 100% off that, but which Roosevelt is one.
Right. This is supposed to be Andrew Jackson looking over like it's his panic. So he got blamed for that, but he's also blamed for Texas because Texas, they couldn't come up with a set plan. All Democrats wanted Texas, but Northern Democrats were, what's the name for no slavery in the territories? Free soil. And so he is really hurt, but there's something else. Harrison did a great job. Well, okay, this is not a campaign like you think of today. Presidential candidates did not go out and campaign for themselves. Others did it. Newspapers did it. Rallies, these were the first real time of rallies, and these were done by other people. The candidates all sat back, and that would be for another 60 years till you get a campaign where actually 1896, where candidates actually begin to campaign for themselves. Now we're used to it. But back then it wasn't like that. And so Harrison's people are pushing this idea that he's a common man. He's a common man. They avoided all issues. They didn't talk about that Harrison wanted to raise the tariff. They didn't talk about bringing back the Bank of the U.S. All they talked about, Battle of Tippecanoe, Old Thames, the Old Tippecanoe. I got to start over again. Battle of Tippecanoe, Old Tip, the Battle of the Thames where Tecumseh died. He's a war hero. He's just like Jackson, frontiersman. The Democrats try to attack him because the Democrats believe, and this is one thing I do want you to get down, the Democrats believe the common man will see right through this. They will see right through it. No way a commoner would believe this scam. Harrison is the candidate of the elite. So in a Democratic newspaper, the Tribune, but a Democratic newspaper did an editorial. Back then, there were clearly pro-Democratic newspapers and pro-Whig newspapers. Today, there's hardly any newspapers. But he wrote bashing Harrison. And in it, he said, William Henry Harrison would be happy sitting on the front porch of his log cabin, drinking his hard cider, than doing the hard work of governing. Now, he was trying to insult him. But the Whigs are like, yes, that's what we want people to believe, that he would be on his log, sitting in his log cabin. He's not an elite politician. He's just like you. And it worked brilliantly. That is why this is going to be called the Log Cabin and Hard Cider Campaign. Log cabin and hard cider. Harrison lived on a big plantation in a mansion. Outside of it, in a little clearing, or I'm sorry, a little forested area, they hastily built a log cabin. And Harrison would sit on a rocking chair. And reporters would kind of be brought in to look at him, drinking hard cider, supposedly. Hard cider is an alcoholic drink for the commoners. And so there's a frontiersman, Harrison, with soldiers, log cabin, there's his hard cider. The Whig almanac was called the Log Cabin Almanac.
How is it supposed to be?
Well, they're trying to say that he's incompetent to run. That's what they're trying to say. He's inexperienced to run and be president. While Van Buren had been a politician for a very long time, worked his way up from the very bottom, was vice president. He should be president. Backfired completely. Totally backfired. And by the way, candidates do this all the time now. All the time. They disguise who they really are, portray an image. They all do it today. TV does it much easier. And so, the Whigs did the great switcheroo. The elitist Harrison, they portrayed as a frontiersman. Van Buren, who was born very poor in Kinderhook County, New York, his nickname was Old Kinderhook. He literally came from the bottom to president. They portrayed him as the elitist, telling people how to live. It was brilliant, brilliant campaign. In fact, this is one of those, okay, it's terrifying. Have you seen one of those little view things where you look through little binoculars, kind of give a 3D image of something? You ever seen those? Not bifocals, viewers. Oh.
The thing like earth science where you just get them on paper.
Yeah. And the name is gone. It'll come back to me as soon as this class is over. This is one of those. You sit there and you look through it, and you're supposed to get kind of a 3D image, and you would turn a little crank and the picture would flip. So you get two views. And so this is Van Buren drinking White House champagne like an elitist. See, he's smiling, but you give him commoner's hard cider, and look what does he do? He grimaces, because he's not a man of the people. And this one you might want to grab your desk, because I'm going to tell you the most shocking thing you could imagine that Martin Van Buren had in the White House. It's going to blow you away. In fact, when you think of elite, when you think of the very rich, you think of the Gates, Bill Gates, or the Walton family. What is the Walton family? What are they on? Walmart. Or you think of the Ballmer family, these incredibly wealthy people, the elite of the elite. We only have one person like that who lives in Montana. Yeah, it ain't us. That's Washington. Of that 0.001%. And what's the first thing you think of? What do they have in their house? A billiards table. Yeah, right? Billiards was a game that was spreading throughout England, and so they was put in the White House. And so they attacked him for having a pool table. Yeah, is that what you think of the elite? They're playing pool. Well, it worked beautifully. It worked brilliantly. And the Democrats had no idea. This would happen again. This would happen time after time after time. Both parties would do it. The party that represents more of the elite does it more. So the Republican Party today does this more, but both parties do it. I'll give you George W. Bush was a good example of this. Very elite, son of old wealth. Yet he was able to portray himself as kind of a cowboy. Even after the election, they bought him a ranch so he could go to his ranch. He didn't have a ranch. He wasn't but they portrayed him as that. Worked brilliantly. It really did.
The Republican Party is gay to buy him.
No, he was a very rich man. Worked really well. That's that's the most common one. Obama's presented as elite. He actually had a very humble background, but he is kind of elite. But it works all the time. And so this was incredibly effective. I went the wrong direction. Van Buren. And so the Whigs did the first modern campaign where they had rallies and people come out to go see them. And they had this big Whig rolling ball. There's a leather ball full of cotton that they would roll from town to town. They had a number of them. And they would have a rally, the first ever political rallies. They have a band that would be paid to come out. People would come out and they'd march along with it. Just slogans, no real issues, nothing of contact or nothing of real consequence. So there's the Democratic ball rolling on to guide the ship, old Tip. And they would push it through, follow it with this big rally, and people would follow along a big parade, and then what would be waiting everybody at the end of the road? Barrels and barrels of hard cider. There's your hard cider. Don't forget who gave you the hard cider and who to vote for. It worked brilliantly. Yes, they set up big barrels of hard cider in the ballot or the polling places.
They actually have push big balls over there.
Yeah, oh yeah. The Whig rolling ball.
Were they that big?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're taller than a person. They're huge, and they would go from town to town.
Is there a
Why?
40
The point is, as
It's a ball.
when the ball would get there, it would be an excuse to have a parade to come out with the Whigs. That's all. It was a brilliant idea. He avoided the issues. What do the Whigs didn't talk about the tariff, they talked about Old Tip. It was brilliant. And so much alcohol was bought from one distillery, so much alcohol, that the person who owned the distillery, alcohol, hard cider, for this election, the person who owned the distillery, his name would become synonymous with alcohol. Sammy Adams was long dead. For this, he didn't have a distillery. Have you heard of the Booze Distillery? You ever heard of booze? That's where the term booze comes from. That was a man's name. Booze means alcohol. So booze came from the election of 1840. Here's another cartoon, and here is the Kinderhook Foxes trapped. Martin Van Buren was from Kinderhook County, as I said before. And so, what this is trying to show are all these states that are going to vote for the Whigs. He's trapped in it, can't get out because hard cider is can't get out the chimney. And then why is he sprung? Who's this supposed to represent? Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson, because Van Buren went with Jackson's parties or policies, his cabin will be toppled over. I know it's a pretty hard one to follow. And here's another one. And before I get to that,
It's a Jackson's trying to overthrow.
no, what it is Jackson's policies are overthrown. So that's Jackson. Now that one I don't know. Kinderhook, that's the county where Van Buren was from. Van Buren's name was Old Kinderhook. And they really tried to push this idea, the Democrats said, now wait a second. He's Old Kinderhook. He was born with nothing. He made it himself. Old Kinderhook, he's like you. He's good. He's positive. He's okay. That's where okay comes from, Old Kinderhook. The term okay comes from Old Kinderhook. Booze comes from there too. So if you want to know where okay came from, it's not a word. So people say O-K-A-Y. No, it was okay for Old Kinderhook. Trying to represent that he was good.
Are you again?
No, they wouldn't. It comes from 1840. So they can spell it any way they want in the dictionary after they come up with spellings afterwards. Webster was dead anyways.
It's exactly.
And here's another one where Jackson is trying to lead him to the White House, but he can't get over there because it's a log cabin and hard cider. And so a hard road to hoe. I'm not sure what this is. It's a guy supposed to be doing this, but it looks like a poor, unfortunate pig-faced guy without a right arm. But he's supposed to go, yeah. And so, when the election ended, oh, here's one of the Whig rallies, and they almost had like a military procession, and pretty soon both parties would do this.
Yeah, there's just that one big face.
When the election was won, the election was over, this is how it turned out. William Henry Harrison was elected president. This is what we have to get. One of the few elections in American history that he won the majority in all sections. He won both the North and the South, and he won North, South, and West. Harrison won. The Democrats were totally shocked. How could the common man be fooled? Actually, the Democrats never recovered from this. They would begin to start doing the same tricks as the Whigs. And they actually, by the 1860s, would almost become the party of the elite. Things just kind of made a flop. And they would try to do the same thing. But a new third party is growing, only in the North, and it was actually a very small percentage of the population. Liberty, meaning liberty for whom? You want to guess? It's an abolitionist party, meaning ending what? Slavery. That's a growing movement. It's still tiny, but it's terrifying the South. And in 1844, before we get to this, Jackson's shadow still hung over the Democratic Party, but Jackson was already in his 70s. He was could not eat, getting very ill. That is the last picture of him taken in 1844. It was one of the photography. It just began, so this is him.
Is he the first president of the US?
No, the first president would be Tyler. I'll explain him in a second. Tyler.
To be what?
Photographed. I thought that's what you asked, wasn't it? Yeah. And that's Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson still was active, still writing letters, still as controversial as ever. But in 1845, Andrew Jackson passed away. And one of the truly great Americans in consequence. You know, you have this kind of dual, weird dichotomy of contradictions of democracy and standing up for average people, representing that average people do really have power. At the same time, you have his coarseness and Indian removal. And then topping it all was saving the Union in the nullification crisis. Jackson is an amazing politician. He is truly one of the greats. Once again, I mean great as in consequence. I'm not saying you have great as in the best. There are always three presidents considered to be the greatest presidents in American history, and Jackson, along with a few others like Teddy Roosevelt or Harry Truman, are right behind him. Who are the three greats? Washington, Lincoln, FDR. And so, no, Kennedy was shockingly ineffective as president. Not even before he was assassinated. Nothing he wanted got passed.
So people liked him.
Yeah, I like it. Well, no, they liked him more after he was shot. He became martyr. His popularity was low. It's weird. But Jackson, when he died, this funeral was a big deal. Ironically, a lot of people took the new trains, the new Island and Railroad connected to Nashville, so they could take the train to his funeral, and thousands came. This is a big deal. Speakers came from all over to eulogize Jackson. He was an American hero. And so at his funeral, one more thing they brought to him. Jackson had a parrot that could mimic things perfectly. And Jackson took great pleasure in teaching the parrot how to swear. And so that parrot knew every curse word imaginable. And Jackson had certain words that if he would say it, that would just get the parrot just to screech out obscenities. He liked to do that when he was president. You know, parrots can live a long time. And so he liked to do that when people would come and he didn't like them. He didn't like when they talked, especially certain people, like when religious leaders would tell him it's democracy, it was horrible. He'd say the word and the parrot would just start screaming obscenities. He had an interesting sense of humor. Well, somebody thought we need Jackson's beloved parrot at the funeral, and no one thought about it. So the parrot was brought to the funeral, and they had the casket, and then they had the parrot with a blinder over it, or in a cage with a cover over it. And they took the cover off about halfway through, and there was a eulogy being given, I think, by Thomas Hart Benton in Missouri, and he said the word. And the parrot just started screaming obscenities throughout the entire funeral. And they couldn't get it to quit. They covered it up, and it just did not stop. Just screeched them.
What's the word?
It's a word you've never heard before. Right? You people have never heard obscenities.
No,
Correct.
the word
What
that
word
Paul
Oh, the word. Oh, I thought you meant the obscenities. He said that. No, actually, it was either, no, we're still not sure exactly what the word was. So it was either the parrot's name, Hickory, which probably, I'm sure they almost certainly said, but also some people believe it could have been Osceola,
What the heck does that mean?
the head of the Seminoles. That Jackson kind of got famous in 1819. And I guarantee you one person would have loved that funeral. Jackson. Jackson would have loved it. Jackson's statue, you know where Jackson's statue is? Right in front of the White House. Right in front is Andrew Jackson's statue.
How long was it?
Very fitting.
How long was the funeral?
I don't know.
How long was the transcript? 96 old.
See? That's Jackson right in front of the White House. Who's right in front of the Capitol? Anyone know the statue's right in front of the Capitol? Ulysses S. Grant. Very fitting, too.
Does Nixon have a statue anywhere?
Yorba Linda. What? What? Richard Nixon's
Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah, I didn't stand for anything because I didn't spell his name. I'll tell you the story. I think his original name was Millhouse. Yeah.
I was gonna ask if he was around after the purchase.
That's unfortunate.
Oh yeah, that's family members. Yeah.
It's like,
That I don't know, but that was a very common style. Lithograph became the big thing. All right, we're not quite done. William.
those faces.
I know.
See the guy in the back corner?
These were made. These are wood carvings that they would use for a printing press. So they're actually. If you ever carve wood, you know it's not easy to do.
So they're still carving wood.
Yeah, you'd use that. They would carve the wood, and that would be the block print for a printing press. And so that's what it was.
It's like everything else is fine, it's just their faces.
Okay, so I know we can criticize them, but William Henry Harrison was the oldest man ever elected president. He was considered to be a lightweight. And so on March 3rd, 1840, when William Henry Harrison was elected, or inaugurated, March 3rd, 1841, Harrison wanted, so his inauguration, you don't need to know the exact date, in 1841, Harrison wanted to prove that he was worthy to be president. So he would give an almost hour-and-a-half long inaugural address, the longest inaugural address in history. Now, by the way, if you think about this and think, oh, that's a long speech, and I could never stand for this, remember, you are children of the modern era. Technology has totally destroyed your brain. You have the attention span of gnats. I'm sorry, that is a real problem that you have. I don't have it quite as badly because I'm a little bit older, but I do too. Technology makes us stupid because we can't focus. People wanted an hour-and-a-half speech. They'd be disappointed if they didn't hear a 2-hour speech because they had longer attention spans, better memories, things like that. That's actually a real problem we have today, short attention spans.
Yeah, no,
What? I forgot what I was talking about. Do I know you people? Let me finish this real fast. He gave this really long speech. He didn't wear his top hat, his beaver felt hat, because he wanted to prove he was tough, fit, and vigorous. It started to rain and then sleet. The next day he had a cold. A week later it turned into pneumonia. And in 1841, what did you do about pneumonia? Nothing. You hope for the best. He died a month into office. William Henry Harrison became the first president to die in office. And now, John Tyler is president. John Tyler, the man who went against every Whig program is now the Whig president. Tomorrow we do manifest destiny, go from there. Yeah, Cody. Kennedy's approval rating was about 38%.
Why did everyone like love him after he got
Well,
assassinated?
he was personally fairly popular. And then when he was assassinated, it was such a shock. He became a martyr to the country.
Vietnam, not Vietnam, but the missile crisis, he really kind of screws that. Like with Bay of Pigs, he really screwed that.
Well, Bay of Pigs was 61. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuban Missile Crisis is complex, and people blamed him for almost going to war. At first, they were happy, and then but with civil rights, the economy was still shaky. Nothing that he wanted to be passed. Yeah, nothing. So, funny.
Coding it so far for you. There's a credit. Okay, well, fine. Well, we're going to the credit competition.
For what?
Math modeling competition. I'm not supposed to do much.
Well, if you can make it there, if not, there's a reading assignment. You have to read chapter 12. There'll be a quiz on Monday. And then one of these days, I got to figure out how we're going to do this, but we got to talk about BBQs.
And then, can you record class?
Yeah, I'll remember that. We'll see ya.
Yeah, see ya.